Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Allspaw Jackson, if I can get the name out.
And I'm Shannon Penrod. Sometimes it is hard to say our own names, isn't
well,
it?
Mine's a mouthful with
Yours
the hyphenation.
is.
Yeah,
It is,
yeah.
but I love it. It's got a lovely ring to it.
Thank you, and I love your name.
Well, you know, and I decided not to hyphenate.
Okay.
I did not take my husband's name. I
Yes.
promised my dad that I would keep my own name, and I didn't. I didn't hyphenate, and I couldn't. My husband's last name is Miller, so I would have been Shannon Miller. Which, you know, there's a gymnast,
That's
an Olympic
true.
athlete that has a highway named after. You can't really.
Yeah. Well, we could go on and on about the virtues or pitfalls of hyphenation because I don't know. Everybody knew me as Nancy Allspaw for my whole life, and to then change to Jackson. But I'm happy with the mouthful. So
the mouthful is pretty. It has a nice ring
well,
to
thank
it.
you, and I'm happy to be here with you today.
I'm happy that you're here too. I know you've been crazy busy. You're a very busy woman.
We're very busy. We have a lot going on at ACT today. Lots of events. We have the Inclusion Film Camp starts next week.
Yes.
And we had Joey Travolta here, and we have we're planning our golf tournament with Mr. Joe Montaigne, and we have the Speed Gamers are starting. But we're going to talk about that later. Let's get to in the news.
And you also, I saw that you announced your date for Denim and Diamonds too.
We did. It's November 3rd.
So you're fabulous. You are very busy.
Well, we're very busy. I don't know about how fabulous, but we're busy.
You're the raising money woman.
Trying.
I said earlier, I always say about you, I'm so glad that we're on the same side of the fence, that I'm on your team, because I would not want to be on the opposing team from you. You're like...
Oh, I did get something new over the weekend.
What did you get?
Well, I've never been much for tattoos, but I do have a little tattoo here. It's a cross, but some people see it as a compass, which is fine. You know, compass is good. I got a tattoo that says warrior.
And very appropriate, might I add.
Every autism mom out there, I think, will relate. Warrior.
Wow,
so if ever I get, you know, it's still getting acclimated to my body. I guess some of it comes off, but warrior.
Warrior.
That's me.
Very appropriate.
It helps to keep me motivated.
Good for you.
So I acquired that over the weekend.
Good for you. I'm trying to think what I acquired over the weekend. Some groceries. That's what I got. You had a much more exciting weekend than I did.
I did a half marathon too.
Look at you. I did some laundry. This is the difference between Nancy and I. My life is staid and mundane, and you're out there living the high life, excited, running a marathon. I could run along with a water bottle for 5 seconds and go Nancy. That's about what I could do. That's tragic. We bought a treadmill for the dog. I can't even get the dog on it.
You bought a treadmill, or you're kidding?
Well, we went to a garage sale and got a treadmill, and I can't even get the dog on it. We have video of us trying to get the dog on it.
Can we show that?
Yeah, I'll bring it in. It's pretty hilarious. I want to get on America's Funniest Home Video with that.
I can get you on. I have a connection.
There you go. That's my son's favorite program, you know. I'm going to
get you there. Vin DeBonis on our board, and Tom Bergeron, as you know, got the Activist Award last year from Denim and Diamonds. We'll get you there. Oh, Jim is so in the audience.
Well, because I know they have an age range, though. We'll have to talk.
Okay, we'll talk.
He might not be old enough.
We'll talk.
But it would make his day.
We'll get him to meet Tom.
That. Oh, that would be a very big deal. Okay, so we have things to talk about, though. We haven't seen each other in a while. Can you tell? Nancy and I are like,
we're
so happy to see
up.
you. Okay, so new study that came out, which I think is really important for all of our families to be aware of, suggesting that siblings of children who are on the autism spectrum need to be monitored closely, because even if they don't qualify for a diagnosis, that their incidences of having autism-like symptoms moving throughout their life are going to be significantly higher. And I think so much of the time when families have, you know, when you have more than one child and one child's on the spectrum, so much attention gets drawn to that individual child.
Right.
And this study is suggesting, they looked at 508 high-risk siblings with no ASD diagnosis, and then 324 low-risk control participants with no relative with ASD were tested, and those younger siblings of a child with ASD had significantly higher ASD symptom severity scores and significantly lower levels of developmental functioning.
But not necessarily full on.
Right.
They wouldn't qualify for a diagnosis.
Right.
Okay. I saw it said things like decreased back and forth play and pointing to objects of interest. So, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they would qualify for an autism or even Asperger's diagnosis.
Right, but if you see a skill deficit, it's something that you want to shore up. And if you're already in this neighborhood on this journey, you're going to gain some skills with your other child that could potentially help that child in their life.
Okay.
So something to really monitor, and that we see that a lot of these kids who don't get the diagnosis, in fact, in the new DSM-5, one of the things that gets changed is that instead of having early onset, that they're saying that in some cases the symptoms may not become present until the social circumstances warrant seeing them.
Okay.
And so keeping monitoring, because it may be that these children later on will qualify for Asperger's or something like that. But in any case, if they're having a skill deficit, let's monitor it and give them the help and the support that they need so that they don't feel left out twice.
Well, that brings up funding, obviously.
Yes, obviously.
It's hard enough to get treatment for our kids that have a full diagnosis. How are these children that maybe have skill deficits going to get help in these areas? I mean, is there going to be any funding for anything like that?
Well, with insurance reform, it's going to be interesting to see. But a lot of what we hear from parents is that you're having an ABA provider come to the house and you feel bad for having your child who doesn't have autism participate in the therapy with the child who does.
Right.
Maybe not such a bad thing.
Feather.
Yeah, we have floaties. We have gremlins and floaties in the area. There's a little feather there. You have to look like the two craziest women in the world. Right. But in any case, maybe not such a bad thing to have your other child who's not on the spectrum participating in the therapy. Maybe it's really beneficial for them
I have
as well.
to say, my friends that have typical kids, when they come over and there's a therapy session, they love it. They're like, ooh, let's go have a glass of wine because the therapist is here to do a supervised play date. Because their kids pick up good things.
They do pick up good skills.
They learn how to share.
Yes.
They learn how to express, ask for things appropriately. Yeah. And I have one mom in the neighborhood who calls me up, can so-and-so come over for a play date? Is there a therapist there?
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes you have people who are reticent about it and other people who are like, oh, it's like a really good nanny. And
not a nanny, I tell them.
Not a nanny at all. I have one good friend who said to me, oh, you're so lucky that your son has autism because you have all that free childcare.
Yeah, does she know that you have to be there when there's a therapist? It's not like you can go get your nails done.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. People get it and people don't get it.
Right.
But in any case, if you've got another child on the spectrum, make sure that they're being monitored as well.
All right.
Really important. And then you've got something there.
I do, and I'm not gonna read it verbatim, but I received this in my inbox on my email and shared it with you, and I know you got it as well.
Yeah.
It's been 2 months since the CDC released the shocking results of the latest study of the prevalence of autism. That is 1 in 88 Americans, 1 in 54 boys. Peter Bell, who is the executive vice president for programs and services at Autism Speaks, has said that the federal response is extremely inadequate at this point. We need a national plan to meet the challenge. It's a public health emergency that demands urgent action, and we have not yet received a coordinated strategic approach to autism. There was a $21.3 million annual appropriation authorized under CARA for the CDC to continue tracking autism prevalence, but the appropriation could be jeopardized because of politics and debates over its merits. And the Affordable Care Act of 2010 is also in jeopardy. So there are a lot of concerns from Autism Speaks, which is, very big on the legislative side, that the White House has not rolled out a bold new plan for fighting autism, similar to the new plan for fighting Alzheimer's that they had commended in Spirit and Purpose. That is the National Plan for Addressing Alzheimer's Disease. Mm-hmm. It was launched in 2011 and has already resulted in a large infusion of additional funding, $150 million, to support research, provide education, and public awareness. And last week, Health and Human Services Director Kathleen Sebelius announced even more actions for Alzheimer's, including 2 major clinical trials, development of training clinics, new public education campaign. We need a similar campaign for autism. And I am joining Peter Bell in asking, we are joining Peter Bell in asking for this national campaign and program to support this epidemic. We do not have an adequate response from the White House. I have great confidence that President Obama cares enormously about this situation. I know he has a top-level aide that has a child with autism that has been very involved with this.
He has a top-level aide who has a diagnosis as well.
He does.
It was featured in Newsweek a couple of years ago, but does have somebody on the staff who has or had a diagnosis themselves, which I found very interesting.
Well, I think it's time that the White House and the federal government and Congress comes together. We need a lot more attention to this because the potential side effects side effects is the wrong term, but the fallout that could come from this for our economy. And don't think it's not an economic issue, folks. It is up there with illiteracy, children's obesity, diabetes, higher because we have so many kids on the spectrum that will not find work and will not go on to higher education if we don't get them more help. So let's get with it, federal government, White House, let's do it.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that and the article does say that there are people who've been taking steps and doing things, but is it enough and is it quick enough? Because I'm ABA background, I always want to remind that there are people that we want to reinforce.
Yes, we want to reinforce, and I agree with that.
That there are people who are doing some things, but the problem is there's so much bickering on side things that autism is getting caught a little bit, that everybody supported, everybody across the board supported re-upping that the CARA Act last year and appropriating those funds. It was $21.3 million, which is nothing to sneeze at, but it's not as much as it was for Alzheimer's.
Not as much as we need.
And because they were taking action in a very specific way, in an unprecedented way, included something in legislation that dealt with autism and the funding in what is termed the Obamacare, and because there is a political issue about that right now, that they might be making that
a political issue.
Well, it is a political issue, and there are people who are fighting right now, taking it to the Supreme Court to deem it illegal. And should that happen, that funding, which was never a part of that before, that's why it's in jeopardy. So I would certainly like to see everybody stop bickering about things that have to do with autism and get on one page together. And I think that's really what this is saying. Some people are doing some things. We need to support those politicians and really have a call to action. My question is, for these people who got the Alzheimer initiative, it had to have been people. And, and how did they do it? Because that's what we need to be doing. And I'm hoping that Autism Speaks and Peter Bell that's what this call is, so that we all gather together and say, you've got to have this. Super duper important for all of our kids.
Very important.
And for people who think it doesn't affect them because they don't have a child on the autism spectrum, guess again, because they have a right to services in the classroom. And if you're wondering why your school doesn't have any funding, it's because legally they have to give support to those kids.
And the earlier these children get intervention, they may not need an aide. They may not need to go to special day class. They may not have a diagnosis of autism after several very early intensive years of ABA therapy. This can happen. This is not stuff we're making up. This is real. So while I see the need certainly to support Alzheimer's legislation. Even though my father doesn't have it, I can see the drain on our public system.
Absolutely.
And I have friends who are in the heartbreaking situation of having parents with Alzheimer's and grandparents with Alzheimer's. You can see the effect it has on the economy.
Absolutely.
And it's common sense. It makes good sense. And we need to take care of our children.
Absolutely.
You know, we talk about all the things going on overseas, the aid that goes there. We have an autism epidemic, people.
Yeah.
Take care of the epidemics at home first.
And we'll keep you posted about suggestions about what you can be doing at home, who to write letters to, because we need to have movement.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement about that. But on a lighter note, we have a guest who's going to be joining us after the break.
I'm excited.
I'm excited
too. I met
Welcome.
her at a conference.
Yes.
Down in Chicago.
Yes.
And she was delightful.
Yes.
And we spoke a great deal, and I told her we wanted to do cooking because she has a great program.
Yes.
Her name is Gabrielle Kaplan-Mayer, and she's going to be joining us after we take a break, right?
Okay. And we're gonna take on cooking with our kids on the spectrum, so stick with us. Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Nancy. And we have a very fun segment today. It's always good to have some fun.
Yes.
With us is Gabrielle Kaplan-Mayer, and she is an expert on cooking with our kids. And she has authored a children's cookbook. It is called The Kitchen Classroom, 32 Visual GFCF Recipes to Boost Developmental Skills, which is so exciting because we're talking about developmental skills and ways to encourage those in the kitchen.
Yes.
And have your child cook with you. So welcome, Gabrielle.
Thanks so much.
It's great to have you here with us. This is a topic that gets talked about a lot because no matter if your child's on the spectrum or not, you got to put 3 meals and snacks out in addition to that every day. And it's important. We know nutrition is important, and our kids sometimes are picky eaters, but you're advocating that we take the children into the kitchen with us and make it a bigger experience. Is that right?
That's exactly it. And, you know, I started cooking. My son is 9 now. We started cooking together when he was 4. And at that time, it was actually, we started when I was doing an RDI program with my son, Relationship Development Intervention. And our therapist was looking for ways to get George to do back and forth with us. At that time, he had very, very limited attention span. If he could focus on something for 30 seconds to a minute, it was really a big deal. And so I was really skeptical at first that we could have longer back and forth activities. And she actually suggested cooking. I was really taken aback, even though I love to cook. And the first cooking experience, he was so engaged. He was a really active participant. He had fun with it and connected. And I said, okay, we're going to dive into this.
And so how did you get from there to doing a cookbook?
It was a very gradual process. You know, we started cooking together about, maybe once or twice a week. And I started with really basic, simple activities like measuring dry ingredients and pouring them into a bowl. So in the kitchen classroom, I have 4 levels of recipes, and one of them is really basic trail mix, where you're measuring your nuts and your raisins and you're dumping into the bowl. So we started with really simple activities that were helping him to focus and to work on fine motor skills. And then gradually over time, we added recipes that had more steps. And I started realizing, because my son is a visual learner and can identify so many things through pictures, that if I made pictures to go with the steps of the recipes, he could follow the sequence even though he wasn't reading yet.
Awesome.
And you had his little sister June's help.
That's right. So when we started, she was 18 months old.
Oh.
And it was so sweet because I would have like a step stool where he would stand at my kitchen counter and she would sit right up there on the counter. Oh. and he would take a turn stirring, and we'd pass the bowl to her and she would take a turn. And so it was this way to develop a back and forth between the two of them. And to this day, it's one of my favorite activities that I can do with both of the kids together. And now she's 6, and she can model a lot of things that he's still working on, like waiting for your turn, that are really important.
That's just great. Tell us about some of the other benefits that they can get from this experience, from our children, that our children can get from cooking, children on the spectrum specifically.
Sure. So I think one of the really big pieces is that all of our kids have intense sensory needs. And cooking is one of those experiences that's a multi-sensory experience. You have your olfactory sense, where you're smelling the different spices and aromas and fruits and oils. And you have the tactile, where you have some things that are gooey and sticky and some that are dry and floury. And cooking's a way to practice getting used to all those sensations. So my son tends to be a sensory seeker. He's always looking for that input. So cooking's a really appropriate way for him to get it when you're pounding out a dough and kneading with your hands. And I've worked with kids who are really, sensory avoidant and don't want to get gooey or icky stuff on their hands. Mm-hmm. And so the process of practicing, first with a long spoon so they're far away but still stirring, and then gradually become more comfortable and get closer, and maybe a little bit gets on their hands, but they don't freak out. So working on sensory stuff is a great thing through cooking. And in the book, we identify all kinds of different developmental skills and how you can use cooking to work on all of those. So everything from fine and gross motor to communication and language, which is so important for our kids, reading, math, science, and maybe the most important, social skills.
Okay. Yeah. Gabrielle, you know what? You can sit back just a little bit.
Oh,
we're starting to. There you go.
Now we can see more of you. That's awesome.
We can see more of you.
When you're going into the kitchen to work with your child, sometimes it can be really overwhelming, and there are lots of different things to keep track of. What are some really key things that we can remember as parents that will set us up for success when we're in the kitchen with our kids?
That's great. So I have a whole chapter in the book that I call Framing the Cooking Experience, which is really you as a parent thinking about how you set this up to work for your child. And it includes everything from the real basics, like look at how your space is organized. In my case, I don't have a really big kitchen. So sometimes we come into the dining room table to sit down and work and spread a lot of things out. Getting rid of the clutter. I know my son gets visually distracted. So if we're in the kitchen and there are lots of clutter and dishes around, he'll be distracted. But if there's that clean surface, he can focus much better. And frankly, I found that's much better for all of us to try and keep things clutter-free.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. Clutter and I get
clutter
bogged
makes
down.
me crazy.
But I still have it.
I know, but it's something to work on, right?
Yeah,
and to
absolutely.
notice the difference for your child between.
Well, sure, it calms us when we have a nice space. It's calming. Junk on the outside equivalent to junk on the inside, right?
So and junk on the rear end, too. They say that, too.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. We should mention, how can people get your book so that they can be working on these things with their child?
Sure. So feel free to come to my blog, which is Kitchen Classroom for Kids, 4 kids.com. And there's a link to Amazon where you can just click away and order the book. Or look at Amazon, or you can request it from your local bookseller.
Okay.
Kitchen Classroom for kids.com.
You got it.
And your book, it includes GFCF recipes. For viewers who are watching, that stands for gluten-free, casein-free. And if you have a child who is not on the diet, and all of our children are not, although the three of us
have
children are.
All of ours. Wyatt's on the diet, Jim's on the diet.
And in some cases, it's absolutely essential. It's something that you should talk to your doctor about, see if your child is in a position that they could benefit from the diet. But we should point out out that's not all children. So if you have a child who's not on the GFCF diet, are you still going to enjoy these recipes?
Oh, absolutely. All my recipes are really simple ingredients and they're good for the whole family. So lots of, just easy entrees, a meatball recipe, chicken breast saute. So that, I think a lot of times we're working so hard to make meals for our kids and meals for ourselves. And I just like to simplify everything and make really good, simple food out of whole foods that everyone will enjoy, whether you're doing GFCF or not.
I love you saying out of whole foods, because one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten when it comes to food is don't eat things that your grandmother wouldn't recognize.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And that's from Michael Pollan's Food Rules, which is a big bestseller, a slim volume of things about how to be healthy and avoid fad diets and if you go, it's amazing what you would say. My grandmother wouldn't know what the heck that was because it's over processed and it's over.
That's right. And if you can't read the ingredient, if you're struggling to read the ingredient on the label, do you really want to put that in your body? So I keep things very simple and natural and not very processed.
Yeah. And that's also a good way. This might be a good way to introduce GFCF foods to your child. Some people say, well, that's so limited, and I don't know if they'd like them. I think a lot of it is the way they cook them and present them. Don't you agree,
Absolutely.
Shannon?
And it's funny because people think of that kind of thing as being limiting, and yet I think it's the exact opposite. When people come and see my child, the way he eats, his diet is so much more diverse than their child.
Yes, who are eating chicken nuggets and Cheetos.
Which actually, Gabrielle, we had a question a couple of days ago from a parent who said, my child is only interested in eating pizza and French fries and chicken nuggets. What kinds of things? And I know I had some advice, but I'd love to hear from you what you recommend to families to help get their child to eat more healthily.
Well, I relate to that. I share in the book our family story. And my son went from being a toddler who ate fruits and vegetables, his favorite food. When he was 15 months old, I have pictures of him eating an avocado, to being a 3-year-old child who would only eat goldfish crackers and pretzels. And it was really scary because I knew he wasn't getting the nutrients that he needed. So we gradually, not dramatically, we just gradually cut out those flour-based, wheat-based products and started in a small way introducing vegetables and fruits. And so he loved, his first vegetable that he was willing to eat was red pepper. So for about 6 months, he had a few slices of red pepper with every meal. And then gradually we added cucumbers and carrots and celery to where now he likes to eat a wide variety. But interestingly, as we were taking the gluten out, his palate changed. And he started to take protein in those days. Now as I said, we make chicken saute, we make meatballs, we make salmon. And back in the day, he wouldn't even eat any kind of protein. I use nut butters a lot. And it sounds scary for the parents, but actually, as you pull some of the things out, try pulling out some gluten and dairy, and introduce in some fruits and vegetables and proteins, and the children are generally more able to tolerate them and begin to enjoy that.
That's great. I'm getting hungry.
Me too.
Yes.
And Gabrielle, I had a very, very similar situation with Wyatt. At first, when I decided to go GFCF, I thought he'll never eat any of this food. I'm taking away all the food he eats because, we're talking goldfish and bread and potatoes and chicken nuggets. So I thought, how is he ever going to eat any food now? Well, the slow but sure is the way to go because we started introducing green beans. Now, green beans are his favorite vegetable. He'll eat them constantly. And then carrots, and then celery, and then a few other vegetables. So by doing it slowly in conjunction with the preferred foods, and then certainly foods like chicken nuggets are easily made GFCF.
Absolutely.
So he also would not eat any proteins aside from the chicken nuggets, and now he eats a variety of proteins. So you're gonna. I would like to encourage parents to really bring in these foods, these healthy vegetables, because you may think you might not be able to do it and your child won't like it, but by reinforcing with the preferred food, bringing it in slowly, being consistent, it's like any good way of doing therapy.
Absolutely.
You will get positive results. I'm confident of it.
Absolutely. And you can use this wonderful book as a guideline.
This
I love
book
that it's
sounds
visual.
wonderful.
It sounds
I love
absolutely
that it's
wonderful.
visuals.
Well, I want to know, what are you working on next? Have you got another cookbook in the works?
Oh, thank you. So what I'm doing right now is on my blog at kitchenclassroom4kids.com, I actually feature a recipe of the week, so that for the families who've made all 32 recipes in Kitchen Classroom and love them and had fun with them and use them again and again, I always have something new. And I just recently put up a downloadable ebook. It's $5 and it's 45 all gluten and casein-free recipes called ABC Fruits and Veggies for Me. And it takes you through the alphabet through really fun fruit and veggie recipes.
I love that.
Great idea.
So like we were, my son is still working on his literacy, and we're making sure that he knows all of the letters. And so we pick like a letter and work on it for a few weeks. And we did all of our apple recipes, and then we got to B and got our blueberries and bananas, and we go through the whole alphabet, and I promise you there's something for every letter.
That's awesome.
That's fun.
That's really, you're really clever, and I love this because we've been talking about this in preparation of you coming today all week about how you've taken cooking and turned it into natural environment training, and you're bringing in all these different subjects, math and science and social language and language development. It's very clever, and the payoff is they're learning a real skill with side skills, and you're working on the nutrition too. So congratulations on being really clever.
Yeah, and
Thank you so much.
Very clever. And I'd like to, we'd like to put the book on the Act Today website for families with a link so they can get it. And, maybe we'll do something, we'll get some of the books and do a giveaway with them. That would be fun.
Awesome. That would be
so we'll talk to you about that, give away to some of our viewers.
Okay, that would be awesome.
Because we're always looking for fun things to do with our children, and when it involves food as well and getting them to eat healthy, I mean, that's a win-win-win all the way around.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for being with us, and we'll look forward to talking to you about that so we can give away some books.
Thanks so much for having me. It was great to connect with you both. Keep up the great work.
You too, Gabrielle. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
A little break, but then we want to come back and talk about something called speed gamers.
Yes.
And how supporting the speed gamers can help children with autism.
Video gaming. So if you've got any wizards on the computer that love video gaming, who are your kids, bring them to the screen, because
or your husbands.
We need their help. Okay? So we'll take a break and come back, right?
We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back.
Welcome back. That was fun, wasn't it? I liked hearing about I've got the wrong file here. Speed gamers. I loved hearing about cooking.
Yes.
And I loved, knowing that there's a whole bunch of new recipes out there that I can access, because Wyatt loves to cook.
That's wonderful. Jem does to a certain extent. He wants to come in the kitchen, but he wants cameras to be rolling when he's cooking.
Oh, okay. He wants his own show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But then he always wants to demonstrate to friends how to make. We just had friends over the other day, and they had seen we made a video about making pink lemonade years ago, and they had seen it, and they're like, let's make pink lemonade together. And so he got all the things to show them how to make pink lemonade, and loves to demo things for people.
Okay, well, it's lemonade stand season out there.
It is.
You
should
can
do
have
one for Act Today.
I'm encouraging everybody that is viewing to do a lemonade stand with the proceeds going to Act Today. Let your kids do that. It'll teach them the beauty of giving back and volunteering.
I can sell carrots too. We just have had our carrot harvest from our garden. I planted way too many carrots.
Carrot soup.
Yeah, I'm thinking carrot ginger soup. And
Carrot juice.
Yeah, I'm thinking
it's
about
delicious.
To do something.
Do you have a jucer?
No, but you know what? I've been thinking about getting one.
We have a juicer. You should get one and drink carrot juice in the morning. Carrot and apple to combine is delicious.
Okay.
Delicious.
All right. But tell me about speed gamers, because this is really exciting to me, but I don't know that I completely get it.
Okay.
So explain it to me.
Let me explain it to you. Okay. The speed gamers are a group out of Texas. They're comprised of gamers. Now, by gamers, we mean those that play video games, all right? Now, these gamers are from around the world.
Okay.
Britt put them together, Britt La Riviere, in March 2008. And basically, they do gaming marathons. So they'll pick a game, like Super Mario, or I don't know. You know more games than I do?
Oh, well, yeah, my husband does.
Okay, what are some of them?
Well, my husband is on Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat,
and Warcraft. And
okay, so they will pick a game, and they will do a gaming marathon, which is streamed live. So anybody can visit their site and watch them play, and you can pledge and donate.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's very simple. It'll be streaming live as you're watching these gamers playing, and you're watching the game on the screen as well.
Okay.
Okay? And then you can donate, and we, ACT Today, Autism Care and Treatment Today, is the beneficiary of this marathon. Now, it starts on Friday, June 15th.
Okay.
It goes till June 22nd.
Okay.
And you can see it online at well, you can go to our website there, at www.act-today.org, and we will have a live streaming video of the marathon. You could also go to www.thespeedgamers.com.
Okay.
Now, I think it's incredible because, let me tell you what these kids have raised.
Okay.
All right, in December 2008, in 72 hours, Shannon, these kids raised $5,923.
Nice.
In 2008, they raised, in 168 hours, over $50,730. In 2010, they raised, in 189 hours, $57,400. Now, if anybody thinks that all gamers are slackers and wasting time, I want you to know, never judge a book by its cover.
Right.
They could be raising money for charity. And I think these young gamers are truly remarkable.
Yes.
I think Britt La Riviere and his fellow gamers in the Speed Gamers, I cannot thank them enough. They are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. Please go on our website starting on Friday.
Okay.
And watch them, support them. They also do some hilarious things. Like they'll eat 10 Vegemite sandwiches in a row if you dare. You can do dares. For like you'll say, I'll donate $10 if you do this. And you know, they can do some pretty wacky things.
All right. What is the game this year?
It's a Mario deal this year. Yeah, it's a Mario. Pokemon. Sorry, Pokemon. I was wrong. The Speed Gamers Pokemon Marathon. So if you like Pokemon.
And a lot of the kids do like Pokemon.
So please encourage your kids to go online if they're into gaming.
Okay.
Your family go online, support ACT Today. And, you know, I think you'll have fun seeing, I mean, these kids have raised $115,000 total for us.
Wow.
That's like the second or third highest single donation from an entity we've had. You know, we've had two above that from some very wealthy people. But these kids have raised more than any corporation has raised for us. So I think that's
pretty amazing. And so we can all be, you know, and if you're sitting there, I imagine you could give $1.
Of course you can.
Right. So you could give $1, but what you could also do beyond that is Facebook about this and tweet about it. That is what would really help this cause. Yeah. So again, they can go to ACT Today.
You can go to ACT Today. act-today.org, and on our website you'll see it's up there. Emily just posted it. And you can also, that'll have a link to the promotional video that you and I did.
Right.
And then you can go to the Speed Gamers site directly if you'd like to do it that way, www.thespeedgamers.com, all one word, thespeedgamers.com. You can go to them, and you can see they're going to be starting on Friday morning.
Okay.
And you're going to watch them doing Pokemon and watch how many are gaming at once, watch some of the crazy stunts they're doing, watch the money coming in. I think that's my favorite part. I like to go out and say, how much have we raised now? Because I see, oh, that's going to be a grant to send a kid to camp. That's going to be a grant to get a child to build a fence for a child that elopes. That's going to be a grant for ABA therapy and skills.
Yeah.
That's going to be a grant for an assistance dog for a child that can't function without one, or or assessments, or tests, or school tuition, anything.
Yeah.
These kids are doing it.
Very, very exciting. Congratulations. And so again, www.thespeedgamers.com. Okay.
One word. And so I also want to say to parents, just because your kid's doing video games doesn't mean they're slacking.
No, they build a lot of different skills.
They do, and it's a whole new world, isn't it?
It is, it is. And even, for those of you who are concerned about it, one of the things that we have heard time and time again is that there's a social aspect to the gaming included in general knowledge. So for your child to be able to keep up with other kids on the playground, they have to have a little bit of an awareness of it. So consider it in terms of that. So monitor it.
Are you going to have Jim go on and take a look this weekend?
I will definitely have him go on and take a look. It's his father will have to pry off.
Okay, well, that's fine. You can, I want as many watchers and as many people watching the Speed Gamers as can be possible.
And we'll Facebook and we'll tweet it. But we're at the end of our time. I just want to mention that even though this show is ending, the conversation continues. There's lots of ways to get in touch with us, especially through email. Wherever you're watching, whenever you're watching us, please take the time to give us your thoughts, your concerns, your questions.
And your ideas for segments. We always need those as well.
We absolutely love those. So you're seeing all the different ways that Emily's throwing on the screen. You can Facebook us, you can tweet us, lots of different ways to participate. We have some exciting things coming up in the coming weeks on the show, so that you're not going to want to miss that.
Is Carly's voice next week?
I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
We should know that, but we don't. It's been a wonky day for us.
I know. We've had some fun though. I showed off my new tattoo.
Yes, I love your warrior tattoo.
My warrior tattoo.
That's fabulous. I'm too much of a wuss to do something like that, but
I'm a little crazy.
You're a
but
wild
okay.
woman.
I'm a wild woman.
I said I'm glad I'm on her team.
I'm a rebel.
That's right, and we love that you're a rebel. You get things done, Nancy. Stick with her.
Well, I am excited to join you again next week, and as you always say,
until we see you again, give your kiddos a hug from us.
And as I always say, catch the joy as it flies. It's not here for long.
That's right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.